The rain battered the windshield of the unmarked sedan, blurring the neon glow of Baltimore's waterfront. Special Agent Lena Carver gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles pale against the cracked leather. Her eyes flicked to the dashboard clock. 2:17 a.m. She hadn't slept in 36 hours, and the coffee in her cup holder had gone cold hours ago. The radio crackled with static, then fell silent. Her partner, Mike Delgado, was late. Again. Lena adjusted the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of herself, dark circles under her eyes, chestnut hair pulled into a messy bun, a faint scar tracing her left cheekbone. The scar was a souvenir from her first year in the field, a knife fight in a Philly alley that had left her with 14 stitches and a hard-earned lesson: never underestimate a cornered suspect. At 29, she was one of the youngest agents in the FBI Baltimore field office, but she carried herself like someone who'd seen too much to be rattled. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. A text from Mike, running 10 men behind. Hold tight. She sighed, tossing the phone back. Typical. Mike was a good agent, sharp, reliable in a firefight, but his time management was a running joke. Lena didn't mind the wait, though. It gave her a moment to think, to let the pieces of the case settle in her mind like fragments of a half-solved puzzle. For 3 months, she and Mike had been tracking a human trafficking ring operating out of the port. The case had started small, a tip from a dock worker about suspicious cargo containers, but it had spiraled into something bigger, uglier. Girls, some as young as 14, were being smuggled through Baltimore, funneled to buyers across the East Coast. The Bureau had intercepted a shipment 2 weeks ago, rescuing 6 girls. But the ringleaders were still out there, ghosts who vanished before raids could catch them. Lena's team was close, though. They had a name now, Viktor Morozov, a Ukrainian expat with a rap sheet longer than the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Morozov was careful, but he'd slipped up. A burner phone left behind at a warehouse had given them a lead, a meeting tonight at a derelict shipyard. Lena's fingers drummed the steering wheel. She hated waiting, hated the way it let doubt creep in. What if the intel was bad? What if Morozov didn't show? What if they were too late again? She pushed the thoughts down, focusing on the rhythm of the rain. Her job was to act, not overthink. That's what her academy instructor had drilled into her. Control what you can. Let the rest go. Headlights flashed in her side mirror. Mike's SUV pulled up beside her, and he climbed out, jogging through the rain to her passenger door. He slid in, shaking water from his jacket. Jesus, it's a monsoon out there," he said, grinning. His dark hair was plastered to his forehead, and he smelled faintly of cigarettes, a habit he swore he'd quit. "You're late," Lena said, but there was no heat in it. She handed him the thermos of cold coffee. "Your reward." Mike took a sip and grimaced. "You're too good to me." He nodded toward the shipyard across the street, its rusted cranes looming like skeletal giants in the dark. "Any movement?" "Nothing yet. Place looks dead." Lena's eyes scanned the perimeter. The shipyard was fenced off, but the chain link was full of gaps, easy to slip through, easy to disappear. "You bring the warrant?" Mike patted his jacket. "Signed and sealed. We're good to move when he shows." They settled into silence, the kind born of years working together. Mike was older, pushing 40 with a wife and 2 kids he rarely saw. Lena envied his ability to compartmentalize, to leave the job at the office. For her, the cases followed her home, creeping into her dreams, her quiet moments. She hadn't had a real relationship in years, not since David, her college boyfriend who'd bailed when he realized her job would always come first. "Oh, you're married to the Bureau," he'd said, and she hadn't argued. Maybe he was right. A flicker of movement caught her eye. A black van rolled slowly down the access road, its headlights off. Lena tensed, her hand drifting to the Glock holstered at her hip. "A Mike," she said softly. "I see it." He leaned forward, squinting through the rain. The van stopped near a stack of shipping containers and 2 figures stepped out. One was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a long coat. The other was shorter, wiry, carrying a duffel bag. They moved quickly, disappearing behind the containers. "That's gotta be him," Lena said. Her pulse quickened, adrenaline sharpening her senses. A call it in. Mike grabbed the radio. "Unit 4 to base. We've got eyes on 2 suspects at the shipyard. Requesting backup. Over." The response came fast. "A copy, Unit 4. Backup en route. Ida 15 minutes. 15 minutes was too long. Lena knew it, and so did Mike. If Morozov was here, he wouldn't stick around. We can't wait, she said, already reaching for her door handle. Mike grabbed her arm. Elena, hold up. We don't know how many are out there. Could be a trap. She met his eyes, steady. Steady. We lose him now. Those girls are gone. You know it. He cursed under his breath, but nodded. All right, we going quiet. You take point. They slipped out of the car, rain soaking through Lena's jacket as they crossed the street. The shipyard smelled of rust and salt water, the air thick with damp. Lena moved low, her boots silent on the gravel. Mike followed, his own gun drawn. They reached the fence, squeezing through a gap in the chain link. The containers loomed ahead, their faded paint streaked with grime. Lena's heart pounded, but her hands were steady. She'd trained for this. Hours at the range, simulations at Quantico, real-world ops that had tested her limits. Still, every operation felt like the first, that same mix of fear and focus. She signaled Mike to fan out, and they crept along opposite sides of the container stack. Voices drifted from ahead, low and clipped. Lena crouched, peering around the corner. The tall man, Morozov, she was sure stood under a flickering floodlight, speaking to the wiry one. A third figure emerged from the shadows, a girl, her hands bound. Oh, she couldn't have been older than 16, her face pale and bruised. Lena's stomach twisted. She'd seen too many girls like this, their eyes haunted, their future stolen. Morozov gestured sharply, and the wiry man grabbed the girl's arm, pulling her toward the van. Lena's mind raced. They needed to move now before the girl was loaded up. She glanced at Mike, who gave a tight nod. They'd done this dance before. Lena stepped out, gun raised. FBI, hands up now. The men froze, then scattered. Morozov bolted for the van, while the wiry one drew a pistol, firing wildly. Lena ducked as a bullet sparked off the container beside her. Mike returned fire, his shots precise, and the wiry man dropped, clutching his leg. The girl screamed, collapsing to the ground. Stay down, Lena shouted, sprinting after Morozov. He was fast, weaving through the containers, but Lena was faster. She vaulted over a crate, her boots slipping on the wet ground but holding. Morozov glanced back, his face a mask of rage, and fired a shot that grazed her shoulder. Pain flared, hot and sharp, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. He reached the van, yinching the door open. Lena tackled him from behind, slamming him into the side of the vehicle. They hit the ground hard, grappling in the mud. Morozov was strong, his fists hammering her ribs, but Lena was relentless. She drove her elbow into his jaw, stunning him long enough to pin his arm and cuff him. Breathing hard, she staggered to her feet, her shoulder throbbing. Mike ran up, the girl cradled in his arms. "You okay?" he asked, eyes scanning her for blood. "I'll live," Lena said, wincing. Get her to the car. Backup's almost here. The next hour was a blur, paramedics, local PDs, the girl's tearful statement. Mike clapped her shoulder, a rare smile on his face. "You did it, Carver." "We did it," she corrected, but she felt the weight lift, just a little. Back in Baltimore, Lena took a rare day off. She drove to the cemetery where Ellie was buried, laying flowers on her grave. Laying flowers on her grave. The wind was cold, but the sky was clear. "I'm trying," she whispered. "I hope you're proud." That night, she called her mom, promising to visit for Christmas. She cooked dinner for the first time in months, a simple pasta dish that tasted better than it had any right to. Her apartment felt less empty, the silence less heavy. The next morning, a new file landed on her desk. Another case, another fight. Lena opened it, her eyes scanning the details. She was tired, battered, but ready. She was Special Agent Lena Carver, and this was her life.